Hey, I want you to imagine that you're sitting in my office across from me and we're having a chat. And the question that you posed to me is that I want to earn more money. And so I want to start a business. I want to get involved in something in order to earn more money, right? Because I do consulting, I do coaching. And so a portion of the people that I coach already have a business. They're already involved in investing. They've already got something moving, or they're an executive. Now, it could be an executive looking to get into a business, or someone that's in corporate America. But oftentimes it's somebody that's doing, wanting to do the transition. And there's so much nonsense online that you go to YouTube and you can find so much nonsense. But I'm going to break down for you some business ideas for you. And whether you're in business or not, I think you're going to get some good ideas. But like I said, I want you to imagine that you and I are talking in my office. And so look at this like a coaching session because I'm going to lay this out exactly the way I would if this was a bi directional conversation where we were going through the situation, right? And I think you'll find it very helpful. And for those of you that don't have a business, I think you'll find it helpful. You might find it helpful, but you also might find it a little bit overwhelming in a lot of ways, right? So, number one is that when you look at business, like a lot of times people come to me and they say, I want to start investing in real estate and I want to get apartment buildings or I want to, buy some homes and I want to rent them out. And although that's great, a lot of people do it. You can read and you can listen, you can find out, what that's like. It's fantastic business. Many people do. But there's a lot of things that you have to think about. Number one is where do you live? Like I live in New Jersey. It's not the best place for buying and renting real estate, at least from what I've heard, because I don't really do that. So a lot of times people say to me, well, how can you guide me, coach me, mentor me in real estate when you've never done real estate other than my own home? I don't have any additional real estate. I'm not afraid to say that. It's not to say that I won't do that in the future, but I look at investing in other areas and I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean by that. And I think you're gonna get maybe a little different insight because I'm taking this from a third party. I have no skin in the game here. Either way, do whatever you want. But if I'm coaching you, I'm going to lead you into a path that's going to give you the best outcome based on your current situation. So you're looking to do real estate, that's fine, but you got to research it. One of my top coaching clients, very successful guy, owned his own several businesses and was investing on real estate, buying apartment buildings. In fact, he and his daughter were doing it together. And so we have a coaching relationship and I'm coaching him on the stuff that we handle, esoteric, getting rid of the traumas and releasing all the traumas that are in his life and all these different things. And in the same aspect, he's also got a coach for the real estate. Now, what did he do for his daughter for real estate? He sent her to a 5-day workshop. And I think he paid, I don't know, $20,000, $25,000 for her to go. But he realized that even though he's already has a bunch of apartment buildings and he's got real estate, that he's going to send his daughter to learn from a true expert that does it day in, day out. Even though he was doing it, he wasn't doing it full time. He's got all these other businesses. He realizes that you go where the experts are. And so that's what I do as well. I say, listen, if I don't know something, you go to where the experts are to learn. But always got to remember one thing, you've got to always have skin in the game. If you're looking to get involved in business or you're looking to do a side hustle, you're looking to earn more money, the question you have to ask yourself is number one, skin in the game. And we're going to look at this from two different perspectives. The first is what I call money, and the second is time, right? There's two different equations on the time and money scale, right? Sometimes you have a lot of money Sometimes you have a lot of time. Okay. But what sometimes you have very little money and more time, or vice versa, right? Maybe you have a lot of money, right? In this scenario, and a little bit of time. And so what you have to do is you have to evaluate what it is you're looking to do. What's the skin in the game? Is it the money or is it the time? Because either way, ultimately, it's one or the other, or both. And depending on the type of business you look at, it could very well be both. A lot of times, people come to me and they want a hands free business. They want a business that they can just get in and work like 5 hours a week and be earning a six figure or maybe even a seven figure income. That's not really realistic. I mean, I always say to my clients, anything's possible, but not everything's probable. So you got to look. I look at probabilities, not possibilities. Now, possibilities is something you want to look at, obviously, but you want to look at things from more of a probable standpoint, like what could really happen here, right? And so the number one thing when you're looking to do something is you got to say what's my skin in the game. And then the third thing outside of that is risk tolerance. And depending upon the business that you get in, that's going to depend your risk tolerance. Some people have a high level. Now, answer this question inside of your mind right now. Write it down on a piece. I want you to write these three things down on a piece of paper. And I want you to write down money, time, risk tolerance. And I want you to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you at on the money scale? Do you have an excess amount of money that you could invest to try to parlay into more money? What is that number? Scale of 1 to 10, right? 1 to 10. Where are you at on a scale of 1 to 10? And then on the time scale of 1 to 10, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay? And then on a risk tolerance, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? If your risk tolerance is a 2, it's going to be tough getting involved in business because you're going to be commiserating every little dollar, every little bit of time you put into it. This is the way I start somebody out. Before we even take the next step, this is the key. How much money do you have? And how much are you willing to invest? How much are you willing to lose? That's the big question. How much time are you willing to invest? What does that look like? What if you got involved in a business that you thought was going to take 20 hours a week and it took 50? Right? And what if you invested 50,000 and it took you 50? You might not be happy, right? So you got to look at all these things. And then the risk tolerance is what happens if you lose it all? Is your life over? you know, that's the way you're going to look at it. That's the first three things that we look at. The other thing we're going to look at is the different business models that are out there. But here's the thing. When you look at business models, it really comes down to one thing. Well, not one thing, but one of the most important things that it comes down to is eyeballs. That's the ticket, right? So when I talk to somebody, I say, how many eyeballs can you get in front of your offer? That's the key. No matter what offer you have, doesn't matter if you're a landscaper, if you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're a doctor, you're an attorney, and I've worked with all of them. I've worked with attorneys, and I found that not all attorneys are created equal. Some earn amazing amounts of money, others barely get by, believe it or not, because there's tons of attorneys, and they're churning them out every year, more and more and more. So when everybody thinks attorneys are super wealthy, some are, but there's a lot that aren't. I can assure you because I've worked with these people. The other thing is the eyeballs. So what is your game plan to get the eyeballs? And the way you look at it, you've got to look at it at a couple different things. And I'm going to break this down. I might even actually separate this into a couple different videos because it really is something that, it's not meant to be a one-off where you just watch this video and you go, okay, that's great. Because if you're not here as a serious student that wants to do these things, just turn this video off because it's a waste of your time. I'd say it's a waste of my time, but there's going to be people that get a value out of it. But you got to look at I look at it for three different phases of business: low cost, medium, and then high risk, high cost, right? And so let's talk about a low cost type of business, right? So we're going to do low cost, all right? And so the first is, and this is a good one, by the way. I call this freelance. Now, that's freelance writing, consulting. That's what I do: consulting and coaching, graphics design, building websites. You're a freelancer, whatever that means, right? Now, of course, more and more people every day are getting involved in it because the barrier to entry is so slim. There's no real investment. I mean, you're going to invest in some tools, but let's say you wanted to go down that route. What would you want to do? You still need to get the skills. Even if you're good at those freelancing skills, how do you do it for business? How do you attract businesses? And then where do you get the eyeballs to actually even pitch them with what you're talking about? What is your marketing strategy? Is it direct outreach, LinkedIn referrals, content market? What is it going to be? A lot of times people say to me, "Man, I got a great idea. I mean, we could sell millions of these." And I'll say, "Well, tell me what you're talking about." And they get a book idea or something. And I'm like, in fact, funny thing is, guy comes to me, a friend of mine from years ago. Had done business, and he's got this great idea for a book that this other guy wrote, right? And the idea was to sell the book and then have these back end services and whatnot. But here's what it came down to: three of us involved primarily. And when I realized after several sessions of talking to these two guys, they sent me the book. The book looked great. It was something I would have liked to enjoy doing. But then when I figured it out, and what I said to these guys was, I said, listen, I'm going to be doing all the marketing. I'm going to be doing majority of the getting the eyeballs. And so I know you guys are saying, let's split it one third, one third, one third, but I need at least 65 to 70%. And of course they were like, no effing way. You know, this guy wrote the book. He's taken a third. Now the other guy that was my friend, he was kind of in the middle. I don't know what he was doing, but he was there. And then there was me. But I was going to be doing all the generation of business, which is the eyeballs. Which without the eyeballs, I don't care how good your product or service is, guess what? Doesn't mean anything. If nobody knows your what's the saying? You know, if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody know? Well, they know if they're right in the forest. So the people got to be in your forest. So anyway, once they realized that, once I realized that I really probably would have been in more, even almost more for 80% from the marketing standpoint. Because when you think about it, is the marketing is the key to the business, whatever business it is. So if you're the marketing guy, you should get more than someone else, unless they're financing the marketing, right? And these guys weren't financing the marketing; they were shoestring budget. If you have a shoestring budget, you got to evaluate it and say, does this make sense? In most cases, it does not, right? And so that's number one: freelance. Great idea, right? Number two is affiliate and internet marketing. Now, again, I bring these up because these are easy to get in, low cost, but not necessarily. Nothing's easy in this world. I mean, there's some things that are easier to get involved in, but all of this comes down to, you want to be an affiliate. That's great. Where are you getting the eyeballs from? Without the eyeballs, without these bad boys, you're not going to be getting any sales. So what's your strategy? What's your time investment? Right? You've got to get eyeballs. What's the marketing strategy? Again, what is your marketing strategy with this? I can't tell you how many companies that I go to and I talk to them about their marketing strategy, and their marketing strategy is a couple posts, some LinkedIn, Instagram, and it's so weak. Considering the company's a multi-million-dollar company and their marketing budget's minuscule, it's a stupid strategy, but somebody came up with it, some young kid out of college. Oh, this is a great strategy, right? But unless you're getting the eyeballs that are looking at your offer and they're people that actually can take advantage of your offer, then again, I do internet marketing. That's what I'm doing right here. I've been doing it since 2000. Actually, I call 2001 my starting date because that was the very first year that I actually paid for an ad online. Prior to that, I did advertising in magazines. So the thing is that that's a quite a bit quite a ways back. But the fact of the matter is, you have to advertise, you have to market. Okay, and if you don't understand that concept, how much money do you have to invest into the advertising and marketing vehicle, the sales machine? Again, doesn't matter how good it is, it's not going to work. For instance, cousin of mine contacted me years ago. He says, "Al, I see you're doing really well online. I want to do what you do. Can you help me get started?" And the first thing I said to him, I said, "Well, how much money do you have to invest?" And he says, "Well, I really don't have much money to invest. I want to do what you do." I said, "Well, I'm spending thousands upon thousands of dollars advertising every month, creating content." So, long story short, he looked at it and said, "Maybe that's not what I want to do," because he thought it was you put up a website, Field of Dreams, build it, and they will come, right? That's not how it happens. But you do need a website in all these situations. So affiliate marketing, internet marketing. Three is you could do something like Etsy, homemade goods, right? A lot of people make money on that. But what that comes down to is sometimes it's a high time investment if you're creating custom stuff, right? Still need the eyeballs, and you still need to have a marketing strategy. Just because you put something on Etsy doesn't mean that it's going to become a major seller. It could. Again, possibility, probability. Probably worth putting here possibility versus probability. Okay? Possibility versus probability. So Etsy, Pinterest, you could put things on Pinterest and so forth. My wife buys stuff off Etsy. My daughter does. So obviously, it's a valid model. But how much do you have to sell in order to make money? So, for example, coaching a guy a couple years ago, he bought a coffee shop, and he says, "Man, I'm going to make a fortune. We've got a great facility. We got the best coffee beans. We're going to have live music. People can come and hang out." And I said, "Okay, you got the coffee." I said, "What else do you have?" I said, "You have some sandwiches. You got some bagels. What else you got?" "We got coffee." I said, "You got coffee?" I said, "How many cups of coffee do you need to sell every single day in order to turn a profit? How many?" He didn't know. But when we figured it out, I said, "You need to add additional products or you're going to be out of business very shortly." Because when you take whatever a cup of coffee is, $2, $3, even if it's $5, how many cups of coffee do you have to sell just to pay the rent, right? Just to pay your employees, just to make the nut. Okay. The next is coaching consulting. I do coaching consulting. Again, you could be the best coach. Which coach doesn't think they're the best coach? Is there any coach in professional sports that don't think they're the best? Really? I mean, there's not one, right? Again, coaching consulting. What what does it come down to? I could be the best coach in the world, but guess what? If nobody knows about me, it doesn't mean anything. Again, eyeballs. If you don't get eyeballs, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant how good you are. So, what's the marketing strategy to get the eyeballs? Is it going to be organic? Is it going to be paid? Or is it going to be both or a combination? Most people, they think, "I'm a great coach. I got this great methodology. I can do this, that, and the other." But when it comes down to it, they don't really have a real marketing strategy. It's a prey pre-marketing strategy that it'll work. And most of the time it doesn't work. That's just the way it is. And so you got to look at things like that and say, okay, is this a possibility or is this a probability, right? Big difference. So that's your low cost options. Let's go to the what I would call medium cost, right? Medium cost. Medium cost. What does that look like? Now, what is the potential cost here? Like I said, the barrier to entry here is very low, and probably what I would put in there is some other things. But let's go medium cost. Let's look at insurance agent. Insurance is a great business. What do you need there? Well, you need to get licensed. You need to go learn about the business. But what else do you need? You need eyeballs. Who are you going to sell your insurance products to? Right? You got to have a steady pipeline of prospects, paid ads, networking events. I mean, I go to many networking events, and man, there's at least three or four insurance agents. There's at least another couple financial planners. Some are insurance agents, some are financial planners, some are both. Sometimes you can't tell which one is which. And so, you know, easy. That's a pretty easy business to get in, but you've got to have a strategy going in. Somebody spoke to me about being an insurance agent. That's a great idea, but do you understand what it's going to take? How many cold calls you're going to make? What is your marketing funnel look like to begin? Insurance, you're usually going to people you know first. Can you create that network fast enough to earn enough money so that you can do it? If you're ambitious, you can. Number two is real estate agent. Now, the reason I put these at medium cost, because these actually are easy to get into as well. The fact of the matter is, you have to buy fees, you have to go to training, and you have to invest more time. And if you think you're going to be a successful insurance agent or real estate agent without investing money and time, don't even get involved because you're dreaming a dream that's going to be a nightmare, especially if you need it for your to earn a living, right? But if it's just a side hustle, you can take your time, no problem with that. You can dibble and dabble. I still coach real estate agents and real estate professionals. I did it for almost 15 years. That's where the main people I coached: sales, marketing, brokers, owners. And the fact of the matter is, it comes down to eyeballs. It comes down to what's the investment. And so the successful real estate agents advertise. The ones that are grinding it every month, maybe not. You've heard some people say, man, this real estate agent, they started their career and they have referrals for the rest of their career. It's a possibility if you're good at building referrals. By the way, my grandmother, now my grandmother's passed away. She was almost 100 when she passed. But back in the 50s, she was a lingerie salesperson. She did party plans. And she made so much money, she was able to build a house. My grandfather worked in a mill, steel mill in Pittsburgh. My grandmother was the one that built the house because she was making money uh, from these lingerie parties. She built referrals. So she would go to a party and she would book 5 parties from one party. That's how she built her business. And then something happened, that business fell apart and her income stream was gone. Um, that's just a little side story. Real estate. How about multi-level marketing? You ever hear that one? MLM, network marketing, consumer direct market. There's so many names. It's really MLM. All of them are MLM. I was involved in MLM for many, many years. In fact, I built organizations with thousands of people. I worked with some companies that were successful, other companies that I had success for a while and then they went out of business. One thing you got to learn about that business: easy in, a couple $100, maybe 1,000 at the most. Most reputable ones don't make you buy inventory. And so if you get in with one, you go through the training and everything. It's still, you got to go through the training. That's going to cost you some money. And then you have to realize you have to go out there and you gotta be pitching the plan, the marketing plan. If you don't do that, you're not gonna make any money. You gotta recruit a lot of people. How many people do you have to recruit? Probably 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe. Because once you recruit them, they gotta recruit, and it's an ongoing and it's a replacement. But a lot of people that I coach are in MLM and they'll say, I'm going to make my fortune in MLM. Now, this is somebody coming in, they're just getting started in MLM. I say, did you research it? Yeah, I researched it. I think it's the best thing. And I'm like, great, go for it. But you know what it takes? Are you going to be out? Are you going to be making the phone calls every single day? Are you going to be making contacts every single day? You see? So yeah, that's a good business potentially. How about drop shipping? You ever hear of that? Drop shipping. I know people that make a lot of money doing that. E-commerce, Shopify, getting your products from China and then shipping them, selling them on Amazon. Again, comes back to the eyeballs. What's your eyeball strategy? Good business. There's also a lot of inherent issues as e-commerce gets more and more stabilized. I mean, look at Amazon. It's the 1,000-pound gorilla. Look at some of the other ones, Alibaba. Look at the many of the different ones that are out there. You can still make money, but you got to have a good strategy. A friend of mine made like a couple $1 million doing that, and then all of a sudden, some of the ads things changed up, and his income went down severely. Okay, and then the next one, I call this service business, and I call that landscaping, cleaning, and maybe some of these home repairs. Some of these might actually be up in the low cost, but again, you still have to eyeballs. Probably getting the picture that the eyeballs is really important when it comes to business, no matter what level you're at. Medium cost, low cost. How much money do you have to invest? You always have to ask yourself that question. What am I willing to invest and what am I willing to lose? Because business being what it is, you could lose money. I've lost money in business. And it's it is what it is. In business that happens. So that's your small medium. Now let's go into the high cost. This is your high cost business. And here's the thing with a high cost. Big investment, more sales needed, but a high scaling potential. First one is franchise. I was involved in the franchise business for many years. I owned 2 franchises. And franchise is nice because it's kind of like the evolved multi-level marketing in the sense that you're buying a business that has a success system built in. And hopefully if you get in with a franchise, you're going to get with one that's really good. And but the thing franchise, you're looking at 25, 50, 100K. Those are cheap ones. I've seen them go, and obviously they do go up to millions of dollars depending upon the franchise you get. So again, looking at franchise, you're going to look at it and say, okay, am I willing to do this? Now, I know some people, when I was in franchise business, obviously I worked with a lot of people that were in different franchises and they understood the business. They understood the franchising fees. They understood the investment. They understood the time commitment. They understood how to run the businesses. You see? Plain and simple. Number two on this is a skill based trade, right? Plumbing, electrician. Reason I put this in the high cost is because high time investment, potentially advertising, employees. So to me, that's a high cost, right? Unless you're just doing it yourself. Accountant, personal trainer, but things like that. How much you can make as a personal trainer? That's why a lot of personal trainers go online and become online personal trainers. I know a lot of guys that are online personal trainers, right? And then how about real estate investing? This is what we talked about earlier, right? How much money do you have for that? And with that, you could do Airbnb. If I knew how to spell, it'd be interesting. And so, what's the time investment for that? Right? What's the money? What's the cash outlay? What's the pros and the cons? Everything has a pro and a con to it, no matter how good it looks. So you've got to evaluate that. Okay. And then you've now I might be missing some things here too. So if I missed something and you're thinking, hey, what about this? It's okay. The basic concepts that I'm sharing with you is what you have to look at. And then I call number 4 in this category brick and mortar, but it really could be any kind of business that you can buy. A lot of times people come to me and say, I've got $50,000 savings, $100,000 savings. I want to invest in real estate. And I'll say to them, have you ever invested in real estate before? Well, no, outside of my house, I never have. Okay. Are you prepared for the inherent potential risks, the losses, the anxiety that goes along with it? Are you prepared for it? They may or may not be prepared for it. One of my suggestions to a lot of people is, have you thought about the concept of buying an existing business that's generating cash flow, revenue, and profit that you can buy? And a lot of times they don't think about it. Now, when I worked, like I said, when I worked in franchise, these guys that are in the franchise business were always looking for businesses to buy because they understood they could take 50,000 and put it into a business and get a return on that investment. So let's say you invested 50,000 in a business and it's cranking out, even, 5,000 a month. That's a lot of money. Now, 50,000 for 5,000 is actually a low payment. Let's say you paid 200,000 for 5,000 a month, and then you could grow it to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 a month, 15,000 a month. That investment becomes really well worth it. Now, when you're looking at businesses like that, you say, okay, does it make sense? For instance, coaching with a guy the other day, he owned a large catering hall, large catering hall, uh, probably multi-million-dollar operation, beautiful facility in North Jersey. And he a year ago he bought a deli, a delicatessen that Jewish kosher delicatessen, one of the most popular delicatessens in this town. And he bought it and he's running it, and he said he loves it. Okay. He told me this business was running for 45 years successfully, and I bought it last year. So he saw an opportunity. What was the opportunity? The opportunity was two guys owned a business. Obviously, they're getting older. If it's been in business for 40, 45, 50 years, these guys they're not spring chickens. And he was able to make a deal with them to buy the business. He's the owner operator, he's managing the business. And obviously, he's got the experience because he's got this large catering hall. It's really quite a facility. It's not just a catering hall, right? And so that probably was a good investment for him, right? For somebody else to go in the restaurant business that doesn't know about it, maybe not. But if you're going to do that, you got to learn about it. You want to buy somebody's business, you got to learn about it. And the only way you'll know about somebody's business is that you start looking at buying a business. You can find a business broker, you can look online, you can look in the local, you can ask word of mouth. Who do you know in the area that might be looking to sell their business? And then you start investigating. What does it look like? What's it feel like when you start talking to somebody about a business? How much do I have to pay? What's the investment? How do I pay for the investment? Is it I give you 25,000 up front and I give you so much per month in perpetuity until it's paid off? What is the deal? What's the deal structure? And those deal structures can be any number of things. And that, again, that comes down to the possibility versus probability. But the only way you're going to find out on any of these things, the only way that um, you're going to understand about this is by doing it. There's no other way. And so I would say get your feet wet in all of these areas if you've never done business before. And like I'm coaching somebody and they say, well, I want to do something right now. And I said, you can certainly do anything right now. I said, but you got to look at it from the perspective of what's your game plan? What's your end result? Right? I mean, if you're starting out at point zero here, this particular person I'm speaking of, they're in a corporate job right now and they want to get out of it. Makes sense. But are you going to start part time and side hustle it? And how long is that going to take? We break that down into 4 quarters of the year. What can you do in the first quarter? Right? What can you do? Right? First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and how much money do you want to earn over the year? And we break it down. And then we do 2 week sprints in between that. And this is the idea phase, right? Now, somebody says, I need to buy a business in the next 30 days because I need an income generation. Then we have to really brainstorm and say, okay, what are you interested in? What do you do? What's your skill set? What's your passion? What do you see yourself doing? What have you ever always dreamed of doing? You can't have an accounting business if you're not an accountant, most likely, unless you own it and you have a bunch of accountants working for you. Same thing with being an attorney or a doctor, a chiropractor, whatever the case might be. A lot of times people see these doctors, chiropractors, attorneys, and they think that they've got it made in the shade. It's not the way it is. You've got to have the hustle, and that's really what it's about. So when you're in business for yourself, you got to look at the fact that it's a hustle game. Okay, it's a hustle. There's no question about it. And if it's a side hustle, you have to say to yourself, okay, I've got a side hustle, but what's going to make this side hustle worth my while? 500 a month, 200, 3, I don't know. What's the number? Most people would say that if they could make an extra 300 a month, that would make it worthwhile because now they get a little extra money. Others say 2,000. How much would you have to invest in an investment in order to make and earn 2,000 a month? That's the other way to look at it. How much would I have to invest? And so when it comes down to it's the strategy, it's the planning, and then it's the execution, right? I've always talked about and will always talk about is you have to have a vision. You have to have a strategy, right? You have to have the skill set and you have to have the mindset, right? The mindset is that piece that is the risk tolerance, it's the understanding, the skill set is taken, and I've done videos on all of these things, and you can find those videos, and they're not long, but they go into really meaty details on each of these ideas. You get a vision. What's that vision? That you know 12-month vision. But then what is the 2-year vision, the 5-year vision, and then what's the strategy to get the vision? What is it going to take to do that? And that's where you have a coach. That's where you have a mentor. Or if you don't, you have somebody else that you could sit down and talk to. You want to be successful? Sit down with successful people. If you don't know any successful people and you want to be, start hanging around successful people. Principle of association, one of the most important things you could do. Now, where do you find those people if you don't even know? Chamber of Commerce. I mean, you could just look online and see all the different organizations that meet up around your town. You'd be surprised how many breakfasts and dinners and happy hours and things like that go on. But that's what I did. I associated with people and I started to get to know people and I started to learn how to dress and I started to learn how to present myself so that when I showed up, They said, "This is a sharp young man." They don't say I'm a sharp young man anymore because I'm not a young man anymore. But vision, strategy, skill set, mindset, and then the last is accountability. Now, all these things I help people with. I would like to say especially accountability, but it's really accountability is an inside job for you. You've got to be accountable to yourself. If you're just accountable to me, if I go away and you're not accountable to yourself, then it's not really good. My job is to teach you how to become accountable to yourself based on your own goals. And then the skill set, getting you the skill set, right? I can teach certain skill sets, sales, marketing. I can teach you how to advertise. And that's a skill set that once you learn it, you can earn money. Like I said, eyeballs is the number one thing. It's the number one thing people talk about. How do I get more leads? How do I get more customers? How do I get more conversations? That's the conversations I have every single day. How do I get more leads? How do I do this? How do I get more people in front of my offer? How do I get more people to the website? How can I create more calls? That's the question. And whether it's a sole proprietor coach, consultant, multi level marketer, insurance agent, real estate agent, or a corporate entity, that's the number one question. How do we get more sales? But even beyond that, if they don't have a sales issue, they usually do have a lead issue. How do we get more leads into our system so that we can earn more revenue, more income, more value, and provide more value in the marketplace? So I want you to take this conversation. I hope it was helpful for you. That the eyeballs, bring our eyeballs back. The eyeballs are the ticket right here. I want you to think if there's nothing that you get from this video other than that, when you look at business, is eyeballs. How many eyeballs are you getting on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? And getting those eyeballs is a direct reflection of how well your business is doing or not doing. Bottom line, I've enjoyed sharing this information with you. If you want to make a comment, you can certainly do that. You want to reach out to me, you certainly can do that. I'm happy to have a conversation to help you maybe strategize where you're at. I usually don't work with people at the beginning stages because they usually don't have a lot of this in their mind, and so it's hard. The saying is, even God has a hard time, you know, steering a parked car. You can't do anything when something's parked. I want motion. You got to be in motion. And outside of the eyeballs is get in motion. Don't just learn. People want to just learn stuff all the time. It's learning and execution. This is worth writing down too. So let's see. Let's go back to the board. Learn and execute. So you're learning a skill set, you learn it, and then you execute it. That's what I was really good at when I was coming up. And that's why the people that I mentored and coached with loved coaching me and mentoring me, because if they told me to go out and do this, I'd go out and do double. Go out and make 50 calls, Al. Okay, I'll make 100. Go out and make 100 calls, I'll make 120. Go out and meet these many people cold. I would go out and do it. I was teachable, right? If you're not teachable and you're not accountable, I don't know how successful you can be if you're not both of those things. And that's what I learned as I was coming up in the game of sales, marketing, business, teachable, accountable, having this game plan. Any questions, let me know. I've enjoyed sharing. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day. So long.